I have 773 videos posted to my YouTube channel. If you followed along for any of that, you'll know that there was a period of time over a year where I put up a video a day. And outside of that, I think the longest that I had gone without putting something up was 4 or 5 days. And this will be a week. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First and foremost, I didn't want to show any disrespect to Lazar, his family. And from there, I'm going to kind of come back to that over and over and over again. It's interesting because I feel like I may be the most outspoken individual in the CrossFit space, and I felt the need to be more quiet than ever. What I have been doing is I've been trying to talk to as many people as possible. People who were there, people who know more than any of you could possibly imagine. And I don't want to do anything with that. And I think that a lot of people should be doing less rather than more at the moment. And I believe that a shining example of that might be the piece that I put on my Instagram in relation to Chris Hinshaw. Chris is a person in the space who a lot of people hold to a very high regard. And it sure seems like he holds himself to a high regard. The day before the CrossFit Games started, he's on Sevon's show, and you may have seen this on my Instagram, where he's telling everybody how safe the event is.
It is such a safe event overall. If they line up buoys properly, no, I don't think that there's any issues that any...
It's more like a swim pool than an ocean swim.
Oh my God, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And
I've
the
heard
entry
it's
points
too
and
warm.
exits...
I've heard the water's too warm, actually.
Please, you know what? I really hope no one says that, athletes, because outside communities, they listen. It's like, really? Races aren't done in Texas all year round? Of course they are.
Okay, let me rephrase that. It's not ideal. That it would be nicer for the athletes if it was cooler. No, you disagree. It's good.
It's not that hot. No, please.
In particular, he's referencing the temperature of the lake. Sevon asks him a question. He goes, hey, is it too warm? And he goes, no, it's fine. People are talking about Texas and it's so bad, but no, it's fine. He doubles down on it later in the conversation. And it is only after the CrossFit Games that he goes,
temperature is the biggest risk in swimming. And if you have that risk, that is the most important piece that you're looking at. But to me, the amount of risk that was occurring that day, I don't understand how the athlete protection was in place. It doesn't, for me, I've never seen anything. It was shocking. If that water temperature was 15 degrees cooler, it'd be completely different. You have to take into account these variables. And unfortunately, people like Brent Fikowski, if he was involved in that meeting, would have said the same thing, because he has an eye just like mine. It's really a difficult spot, and I didn't have to say anything. And I've been always very vocal about injustice that occurs to the detriment of my own business. Let's face it, Sean, the damage that I'll get from HQ from this is immense.
Water temperature and the temperature of the water is the most important variable when it comes to safety. And it's like, dude, you just bit yourself in the butt. And I think that a lot of people are biting themselves in the butt because nobody knows anything. You think you know things. I think I know things. And for all you know, you might be right. But what I believe I do is I show you guys what it is you are talking about in relation to yourselves. And Chris Hinshaw is a perfect example of that. Unfortunately for him, it came within the same week. And top of the priority list goes directly to CrossFit HQ. And Don Fall recently, in a podcast with Kettlebells and Cocktails from what I believe was 6 months ago, says that they are making direct budget cuts at the games.
Thank you. And you're right. We took a lot of costs out of the business, and we're going to continue to take. So if we look at sport, for example, our primary goal this year on sport is one, deliver a great experience for our athletes, for members of the community, for affiliates. We still spend way too much money on sport. We're going to take a meaningful amount of money out of that. That's money that we can reinvest in the long-term drivers of growth, reaching more people, investing in our affiliates. So that is a meaningful focus for us this year.
Are those things that led to the incident that is Lazar Ðukić's death? And it's like, we don't know. And you're talking to the guy who's made endless amounts of content in relation to that exact topic. And while a lot of this stuff I'm not certain on, and nobody can be certain on, and nobody knows what they're talking about in relation to anything, I did put up another post, and it said something along the lines of the game should have been canceled on Thursday. And I've spoken to people at the event, and I've spoken to people outside of the event. As you know, I was planning on going to the event on Friday, and Alexis and I canceled our plane tickets that day, Thursday that day, because none of it mattered. Nothing matters. I brought up the fact that I have 773 videos, and I have this thing that everything is content. Everything is content. Everything is to be talked about. The second it's on the internet, you gotta talk about it. And that's not true. when someone dies. You don't have to capitalize on it. You absolutely should not capitalize on it. And when it comes to the CrossFit Games, sure, there's 30, 40, 50,000 people there, and sure, they spent a whole lot of money there to get there, whether it's vendors or sponsors or whatever. But there's a dead man, and no amount of money is ever gonna bring back Lazar. And it's that point where I can't help but get my head around the fact that it's like, what if it was me, and then I had to imagine Alexis going on life without me? Or what if it were your brother, your sister, whoever it might be in relation to you, your child? What if the situation wasn't Lazar Ðukić, but it was Tia Toomey or anybody else? And people push back on me with, well, it wasn't. And you can't do that. It is Lazar. And it kind of makes me sick because we're doing burpees and thrusters. And I can get super duper on board with a burpee thruster competition. I've dedicated my life to talking about CrossFit and the sport of fitness. Notice the difference there. CrossFit and the sport of fitness. And the sport of fitness is something that I used to be incredibly proud of. Dedicated a portion of my life to trying to make it to the CrossFit Games. I wanted to be amongst the fittest on earth. I thought that having the claim to the title of fittest man and woman on earth was one of the coolest and best and most true statements ever. The fact that the CrossFit Games was finished this year with an incomplete test has now tarnished that. You'll hear things such as, we are fitter than Ironmen, we are better than triathletes, we are better than powerlifters because the powerlifter can't run the 5-minute mile and the person that can run the sub 2.5 hour marathon can't pick up 315 pounds off the ground. And you have this complete test of fitness and you just pluck out two components of it. And I love James Sprague to death, but anybody with their head screwed on straight can't look at all of this and say, yes, that is the fittest man on earth for the 2024 year. And this is my most critical point into the reasoning why the 2024 CrossFit Games should have been shut down on Thursday, is because that is not fair to James Sprague that just came out of my mouth. Fair is where you go buy pigs, Andrew. Yeah, I know. But people have sent me that Noah Olsen thing 10,000 times. It's like, did you see that Noah stood there for that first minute and then tried to get it back later? I'm sure you've seen that flying around the internet, right? But he shouldn't have been put into that position. And he was put in that position, and it did happen. And it sucks that that's the way that had happened. Giving away a minute of your time only to then try to get it back does not look very good for you. I heard that there were teams that left their medals there after the memorial following the competition at the award ceremony, and then they went and they got them later, which defeats the purpose of it. But again, they shouldn't have been put in that position because it shouldn't have happened. None of it should have happened. There was no test for the fittest on earth. There should have been no opportunity for a minute to be sat down. There should have been no medals. There should have been no comp. Everyone should have gone home. And the real reason that everyone should have gone home is because for all of you who were there and you were doing the wave in the crowd and partying and having a great time, and every time someone crosses the finish line and there's a exuberation and Tia's pumped that she hit a heavy clean, it's like, guys, how can you not remember how this thing started? How can you not remember that the fact that you are super fit is such a small, insignificant thing, and your livelihood does not matter when the life of someone else is gone. Life does not need to go on right like this. The real issue here comes back to leadership. I believe that a true leader makes a decision for the flock. A true leader doesn't crowdsource an idea. They don't send out surveys to the athletes to get a group decision. You're offloading responsibilities onto people who work out for a living. It's your responsibility to make a choice for what's best for the group. CEO of a company, tell us what to do. Just tell us what to do. Well, Andrew, what would you have done? Memorial for Lazar the following day. Keep Vendor Village open the rest of the weekend. Let everybody hang out if they choose so. Let them go home if they want to. There was an individual that made me sick to my stomach. They put up an Instagram story, a post, that thanked the athletes for sticking around for the good of the sponsors. So when I say things such as the only reasons that I've heard are those that are financial, I'm not just pulling that out of my butt. I could give 3 craps about the GoRuck contract when there's somebody who died. I don't care if the entire company goes down, because guys, remember, you know what happens? It's still all gonna happen anyway, but you know what happens? In the process of doing so, you didn't offload the responsibilities of what a leader should be. And please, let me not let you forget that Don Fall, CEO of CrossFit, has got on all of these platforms, all of these podcasts, and said the goal of CrossFit is to reach and to gain and to gather 30 million people. He doesn't know how he measures it, which is a giant thing that I always talk about. But I tell you what, Don, you wanted 30 million people? Well, they all know all about CrossFit now. And the message that they're getting is that CrossFit kills people. And no matter how this entire thing shakes out, that's the thing that's going to be imprinted in their brain. All of that said, I've been doing everything that I can to try to sever what had happened on Thursday as if there was a decision to complete the games. And then the things that had happened on the floor or anywhere thereafter, I'm trying to let those people say those things, and I'm trying to let them go. I want to let them go. Because the thing that I've heard 10,000 times is that everybody grieves differently, and these people are not making rational decisions. They aren't saying rational things. The question that I ask is, are these the same things that they would be saying anyway? I don't know when the next time I'm going to put up a video will be. But just like I didn't think that there should have been a burpee and thruster races, I look to a handful of my content, and I don't know when there will be a time and a place for that either. It's been about a week since the passing of Lazar Ðukić. The more and more I see and hear, the more and more I think that CrossFit made a terrible decision in continuing the CrossFit Games. The goal of it is to bring everybody together as close as possible, and I've never seen the community more erupt, more shattered, and more distant. Everyone is siloed, and everybody is coming for everybody's heads, and that is not the best outcome for any of this. And it could have been, in my opinion, handled much better if they would have had true leadership over at CrossFit. And that's all I have to say about that. Andrew Hiller, out.